listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
Welcome into the GM Shuffle. DraftKings, the crown is yours. I am Geoff Schwartz alongside Marty Hurney. It is Super Bowl week. It's our Super Bowl preview show. I'm here at the DraftKings set in Radio Row in San Francisco to preview Super Bowl with you guys and with Marty as well. Marty, this is a very fun time, I would imagine, for people in the building. You've been in this spot before. I've been in this spot through my brother before, and we're going to preview the entire game today. Quarterback, coaches, O-line, D-line matchups, secondary matchups, wide receiver matchups, personnel matchups. We're going to end with our best bets. And but just starting with this, Marty, as you get closer to the game, right, as we're recording this on Thursday right now, what are you feeling in the building? And the building's now moved, obviously, to a hotel room or hotel ballroom in San Francisco.
Well, to start, Jeff, and, we go through all the matchups and everything, but a large part of your success in this game is how your team, how your organization handles the week, right? So you've been basically 10% of the people do 90% of the work to get everything set up as far as players and all the football part. And then when the families come in, so today's Thursday, the families come in. It's been relatively quiet up until here since they got there Sunday, and they've been focused on just, polishing the game plans. Now the families come in, and, I started early on, early years as general manager. I thought, wow, you got to eliminate the distractions and keep the players focused during the, from Thursday till game time. And I kind of formulated that with when the Redskins, 1988, the Redskins played the Broncos in San Diego under Joe Gibbs. And the night before the game, instead of staying at the team hotel where the families are and it's all crowded, they went to the Lawrence Welk Resort outside San Diego and spent the night there and won the game by like 30 points, and everybody was talking about that. So we get to the Super Bowl in Houston. We go away Saturday night, and it's this place. We go 45 minutes away, and it was all spread out. We need golf course cards. Players were complaining, and you know what? It just brought us more together. It brought the team together because it proved that we were resilient, right? And that's what you need to win this game. We got down in the first half. We came back. I think it was one of the best Super Bowls. If we didn't lose, I would say it was one of the best Super Bowls. But I think that it really is kind of changed my attitude toward you have to eliminate distractions. No, I think it's a team that learns how to deal with the distractions the best wins this game.
Yeah, look, the Super Bowl I was at with my brother, we did move in the hotel. I think it was Thursday night as the family, right? And, they cordon off the players. The players have their own section of the hotel, but there still needs the family, right? Like your parents want to see you. Your relatives want to see you. They want to have dinner with you. And my brother did a good job of eliminating that. I had dinner with him early in the week. I drove out to meet him somewhere by his team hotel, and we kind of got that out of the way early. I knew my brother's routine. He didn't want to do that, but that's the thing. We are very routine creatures, right? And being out here for a week can get into your routine, especially Monday night with the big media night. After that, it slows down. But your point about family coming in, and family do visit all the time when you're playing, but you have a routine in the schedule. Friday night, right? Like you go out with your family maybe, or Saturday night. But with it being so important, such a big game, you don't want to ruin that routine. How much game plan is there right now? So we know, and we've all been in the spot. You game plan the first week of Super Bowl week. And this week is just honing that, right? There's not a lot of adjustments to game plans this week. What do you notice from just practice-wise, what happens the last week before the Super Bowl?
Well, I think you can see the confidence. I mean, players, you have 2 weeks now, and you basically did your game planning and went through your regular season routine the week before you got to the site, right? Now it's just polishing and tweaking, and there might be a play added here and there, but it's basically the game plan was done before you left. You're just polishing things up, and honestly, Jeff, as I said, I think the key to this week, especially to the later
Yeah.
part of this week, is just eliminating the distractions. And you've got family coming up. There's tickets for a game day breakfast. There's how many tickets you need on the bus. Oh, Aunt Mary came unexpectedly, and we need another ticket for her. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, and you just have to keep those things away from the players. But this week is
Yeah.
about how you handle the event. I think the game planning and everything was done, and everybody feels good about what they're doing right now.
So both teams, as the iterations they are now, are new to this, right? Right now, the GM in Seattle, right, has won Super Bowl 4. He's used to it. Mike Vrabel's been here as a player before, but obviously as a coach, it's different. And as we get to start previewing some of these matchups here, the thing that comes to my mind that we don't talk about enough in these is coaching, right? We will talk about quarterbacks and, as I mentioned, offensive line, skill guys, all this stuff, special teams, right? But coaching here, we have Vrabel, who has been a head coach longer than Mike McDonald, and has been in this spot before as a player, Super Bowl winning player, right, for the Patriots. Is there an advantage because he's been here before? Because I do feel like the coaching matchup is pretty much a wash. I think Vrabel is an excellent game manager. Obviously, Seattle's done a great job the last couple of years as well. I don't really see a great advantage for either side here, but is the advantage that Vrabel's been here before?
It's funny, Jeff, because I've asked myself a question the last few days is not as much Vrabel, but do the Patriots have advantage because of Josh McDaniels being there so many
Yeah,
times and
good point. Yeah,
offense coordinator wise? And I think that might have a bigger play. I mean, to me, he should be assistant coach of the year. I mean, what he's done with Drake Maye is phenomenal. So I think that his experience is something that I've really taken into account this
yeah.
week when I'm looking at all the props and who you should bet on. I think he could be a factor in this game. I really do.
I'm glad you mentioned Josh McDaniel because very famously, New England started very slow in the first quarter of all Tom Brady's playoff games, all his playoff Super Bowl appearances. I don't think he scored a touchdown drive in the first quarter of any Super Bowl he played with the Patriots. I think he did one with New England against Kansas City. So does Josh think about that heading into this game, that we have started traditionally slow? You had Tom Brady to overcome that. Now Tom Brady also did that with other coordinators as well. It wasn't just Josh. So it's a thing that happened for the Patriots over the years. But do you think Josh McDaniel thinks about that heading in this game? I think they can't start slow. I would imagine that's not great for the offense, especially as young as they are at certain positions, to start slow. But do you think he thinks about that in this game? Hey, previously we've started really slow. What can I do to get us out of the game much faster in this game?
I'm not sure it will have as much to do with what they've done previously, but with a second-year quarterback, with a young quarterback, with Drake Maye, I think what he's thinking about is, hey, I want to get him into the rhythm of the game. Let's get a couple of easy shots for him, easy throws early to complete to try to get his confidence going, and we can get some momentum going. On offense. And I think that's really what they're looking at. Coaches don't much. Coach will say, "Oh, that wasn't us. That's somebody else." But I think the biggest thing is that Josh McDaniels has been there with the young quarterback and knows what to do with Drake Maye early in the game. And I really do see them trying to throw some quick passes, easy passes to get him into the rhythm of it.
I do think that we'll get to our best bets here in a few minutes, because I do think that I might play an early first quarter under, or sort of Drake May under, as he sort of gets into the rhythm of this game. On the other side, Clint Kubiak, Seattle's offensive coordinator, appears to be the head coach of the Raiders after this game. I don't think that matters as much to preparation. College football, it really does matter. I think when you are a head coach that's at another school trying to prepare for an actual game, your duties in college football are a lot different. Your duties as NFL head coach. So there's no distraction for me in this one. I just got to say, man, Kubiak has been on a heater, man. His offensive game plans have been so good. People previewing this game talk about, New England trying to take away JSN, Marty. I don't think that's the case. I think Kubiak has done a fantastic job of finding ways, whether it's stacking JSN, motioning, putting him in the backfield. It does feel like this could be sort of a masterpiece for Kubiak. You can figure out a way to make JSN his offense go, especially early in this game.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that matchup and how they'll use him a little later on. But I think that to me, And we talked about Clint Kubiak early in the year. I mean, the whole Kyle Shanahan kind of system, which Kyle got from his dad, and they've always been able to run the football. And I think the key for Seattle is their ability to run the football. And Zach Charbonnet's out, we know that, but Kenneth Walker is an extremely talented back. I think he's underrated. I think he's starting to get the credit that he deserves. But I think that the team that can run the football the best in this game will have the edge. And I think that Clint Kubiak does such a great job of being able to run the ball, which I think opens up things in the passing game. And that's I think this game is going to be decided like a lot of them are as far as chunk plays go. So if he will do a good job of setting up the run and setting up plays where he can take some shots. But we have said all season that he's one of the best offense coordinators in the league. He's done a terrific job. And this is an extremely intriguing matchup between the two offense coordinators in my mind, because they're both two of the best in the league.
One thing that I'm so fascinated by when it comes to coaching this game is the aggressiveness with which the coaches are gonna play. They're both defensive guys defense guys in general tend to skew a little more conservative, but I don't think Mike Vrabel, to me, feels very conservative. New England's 5th in the NFL in fourth down conversion percentage this season. They've done it really well. Do you expect anyone to sort of change their game plan on fourth down because it's a Super Bowl, or just ride with what you've done all season?
I think you ride with what you've done. I think changing it for the game is a mistake. Now, you have to be careful not to get caught up in that and go for it when you won, right? And I think that you just stick to what got you here.
Yeah, you certainly do have to do that. And again, New England's been great on fourth down so far this season. Seattle is not as good, but not something because they haven't had to be. They just haven't had to go for it as much on fourth down this year. So we'll see. Obviously, that plays a big factor in this game. Special teams, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Quarterback. I mean, it's just so much fun because you get to break down basically each individual position in this game. You get to really hone down on scheme and notes, and we'll present you with our best bet at the end of the show that basically I think we'll go over how we feel about the game and where that's at here. I think coaching, we agree, Marty, is probably about as even as you can be in this game versus offensive defensive coordinator, head coach, and whatnot. Let's start a discussion with players talking about the quarterback position. We'll do that next. GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
All right, back on the GM Shuffle. Geoff Schwartz, Marty Hurney, live here at the DraftKings set at Radio Row. It's a lot of fun to be here and sort of talk to people, and we'll get into sort of full game predictions on our final segment. We'll have our best bets as well. You can comment on YouTube if you're watching this show now or when you want, or later before the Super Bowl about your prediction. I'll go on and give you guys my thoughts as well, answer some of the comments, and we'll have fun there on YouTube. Let's get into some of the previews here, Marty, when it comes to position. Now, we're going to go through a position by position here. I'll start with the most important one, which is the quarterback position. I never thought, and this is, bias of mine, of course, but I just never thought, Marty, we'd get here and Sam Darnold would be the better quarterback playing right now in a Super Bowl. I didn't think we'd get to this place, but I think Drake Maye will have a quote unquote better career and might be a better player, if that is the best way to frame it. But Sam Darnold is playing some really good football in the playoffs. He is not thrown for a ton, he hasn't had to, 8.9 yards per attempt, 0 giveaways, passer rating of 122, which puts him up there near the top 10 of all-time passer ratings in a postseason. The thing that we have said about him in these big games, at least I have, and other people that are sort of doubters of Sam Darnold, is that he sort of turned into a different quarterback in these high-leverage games and moments. And there were certain times this year against the Rams the first time, against the Rams the first half, the second game, but then he played well in the back half of that game that they won late on Thursday night. He's played well in the postseason, Marty. I have put that past me now. I'm now looking at Sam Darnold as a difference maker in that position. Now, can he turn back into something else in this game? Sure. I mean, it can happen. New England can force them to do that. Their defense is really good, right? Maybe we're not giving that defense enough credit, but I'm over that now. I think Sam Darnold is playing really good football. and that will continue on Sunday in the Super Bowl.
I'm laughing, Geoff, because I was just thinking, I've heard this, and really up until 2-3 weeks ago. I mean, everybody was saying, "Oh, Sam Darnold, he can't really get it done in big situations and make
Yeah.
mistakes." And you're right. I mean, if he throws 2 picks on Sunday and they lose the game, you think that narrative's going to revert back? Listen, this guy's a good quarterback.
I'll be the first one. I'll be the first one, Marty. I'll be
The first one, you'll be killing them. You'll be killing them. It'll be like, hey, erase that tape from Thursday. I told you. I've been saying it all year. And listen, either one of these quarterbacks, one of the huge every week, it's protecting the ball, right? So you can't turn the ball over, and especially this game with 2 defense. So whoever turns the ball over is going to have a really hard time winning this game. But I think that the experience that Sam Darnold has gone through, all the bumps in the road, it makes this performance a little easier, I think, for him, because he knows nobody thought he could get here. So I think really that the advantage, I think he does have the advantage because all the things he's gone through in his career to this point. And now the question is, though, if he comes out, make a mistake early, how do you respond to it? And that's the key is when you make a mistake in this game and you're going to, how do you respond to it?
Well, look, I think we could go back to, again, the second Rams game, that Thursday Night Football game that they won. He did not play well early in that game. And he came back and battled and made some really good throws at the end of the game, right? Like we saw him do that. And look, he has played in big games before. He won a Rose Bowl. He played really well. Like he's Marty, he's done this at a certain level, not in this exact moment, but in bigger games. He has shown in another career in college to play well in these games. And obviously we'll talk about schematically some of the things that might happen for Seattle against the Patriots defense. Marty, my concern in this game goes to Drake Maye, who, again, I think is going to be an incredible quarterback in the NFL for a long time. He's going to finish second MVP voting, which tonight was NFL honors. If you're listening to this on Friday or Saturday, already, or Sunday. You were listening on Thursday. The NFL honors is tonight. He'll be second MVP voting. Like, he's had a great season, but there are a lot of things I think that are difficult in this game for him. Starting off with, in the postseason, New England's played 3 good defenses. Their offense has not been very good, right? Hasn't been very good. Taking 5 sacks in 3 straight playoff games. Not great. A lot of times you take 5 sacks in a game, you don't win the game, but they've won the game because they played offenses and have been very good, and they found enough ways to make plays. Mike McDonald's defense against quarterbacks that are under the age of 24. They're 0-6 in those games. They average 11 points a game, Marty. 11 points a game. 1 touchdown, 8 interceptions. Like this defense is hard to play against. They give you almost nothing, right? I mean, the stats go on quarterbacks the first or second season, playing the number 1 scoring defense in the postseason. They're 0-5. I mean, the numbers, Drake Maye's going to have to break a lot of tendencies, Marty, to be better than what we've seen quarterbacks like him have played in the Super Bowl.
Yes, and I think that, and we talked about this earlier, and you have a great point to this, Geoff, but I think that Drake Maye is going to have to make some plays with his feet as far as escaping the pass rush and making some key runs, and you think that's going to be harder than it's been for him.
Yeah, so my thought, and then we'll get to the best bets. I gave this one out already, but this number keeps fluctuating. So when New England doesn't use Drake Maye often as a design runner, right? Now, he ran to end the Broncos game, but according to all reports and himself, like that was his own call, right? He made this, which I love. It's a fantastic call. He kept the balls on his own. They run zone reads every now and then, but not enough to make it their offense, right? And if his shoulders messed up a little bit, they're going to pull a lot of those design run back. When quarterbacks scramble, right, which Drake Maye can do, he's very versatile in that manner on third down most often. The success they have tends to vary based on man coverage versus zone coverage, right? In man coverage, the linebackers are typically in man, right, against a running back, a tight end, and they vacate the box, right? They leave the middle of the field as they're chasing their guys, right? Running backs in man coverage get out faster, right? They see man coverage, they get out, right? Because the back leaves the box with the running back. And that leaves a giant void in the middle of the defense if your pass rush kind of is a wider pass rush, right? And Drake Maye sees that. He drops back the pass. Ooh, no one's open. Boom, I'm running the ball. Well, Seattle plays a ton of zone coverage, and they're actually the best in the NFL against man and zone. No surprise there. But there are games where they don't move. Like, you see a guy motioning across, Marty, and Seattle's defense doesn't move at all. Not a single person moves, which is a great tell for zone coverage. But, like, they're going to play zone the entire game. They have no reason to play man coverage all in this game whatsoever, especially if New England wants to run a lot of screens. Man coverage is the best against screens. Excuse me, for us as offense. I'll rephrase that. It's great as an offense when a defense runs man coverage against screens, right? Because you have one linebacker, one offensive lineman, you block that guy, boom, the back is gone. So I think Seattle plays a ton of zone in this game, which means they're going to have a middle linebacker over the ball the entire game, Marty, right? I think Drake Maye is not going to run the football. Like, he's going to see the middle linebacker standing over him. I don't think that's going to be a big part of their game plan. If it's not, he has 60 yards rushing in 2 of the 3 playoff games. The offense, man, is hard to find yards sometimes, Marty.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if he has running yards, Geoff, it's going to be improvising, right? I don't think it's going to be. I don't think he's going to get a lot on design runs, but I do think once he gets pressured rolling out, he might be able to make some yards, but it definitely is harder against the zone defense.
It's going to be hard against his own defense, and something that obviously he will have to figure out as we get going along here. If you like what you're hearing here in the GM Shuffle, there's even more VSiN Pro betting splits, power ranking, sharp analysis, all for $9.99 in your first month. Go to vsin.com, subscribe, and check out all description options. Let's continue on, Marty, with the Patriots offensive line. I think that's a big part in this game. It's not a good offensive line, and it really concerns me against Seattle's defense. Look, Seattle's defense, individually is not as pass rushers, Marty, they're not individually like great, if that makes sense, right? Like, there's not a guy who I think is like, oh my God, you better block this guy or he's going to ruin every single snap, right? I think the Patriots D tackles have more of that ability, but the Seattle defense as a whole, the way that they rush the passer, their aggressiveness in pressuring sometimes, their run game, their line stunts, right? To me, Will Campbell, the Patriots left tackle, has not played well since he returned from injury. He's a huge key in this game. If he does not play well, buddy, it's going to be a really long game for Drake Maye in that backfield.
Yeah, it really is. And really 2 rookies, the Campbell and Wilson on the left side. And I think that, the Seahawks are going to try to take advantage of that. And it'll be interesting to see if they do change. They usually are not a big blitzing team. And do they blitz more to put pressure on Drake Maye? I mean, I think the key to both defenses coming in, one of the top 3 points they're going to have is, pressure the quarterback, hit the quarterback. And you mentioned about Sam Darnold taking 5 sacks, but in this game, a sack might not be a bad thing. I mean, John Fox always said a punt's not a bad play. A sack might not be a bad play in this game because I really think that this is going to be a defensive game. I think points are going to be at a premium.
Yeah.
And not turning the ball over is going to be the key, like it is in every game. I mean, I'm not saying anything brilliant here, but it's I just think that if you have to take a sack, take a sack. Don't throw the ball up.
Yeah, and look, we've seen in the postseason that the turnover percentage per game for New England has gone way up, right? They average, against bad defenses, about half an interception. It's better defense in the regular season, about 1.5, and it's almost 2 turnovers. And that doesn't count, by the way, the amount of times the ball's been on the ground by Drake Maye in the postseason where he's recovered, right? Like, the ball's been on the ground way too much. And to that point, how do you avoid that, right? So I think the screen game is going to be hugely important for New England. But guess what? Seattle knows this one. Look, this is the thing about it is when you have 2 weeks to prepare, you know what someone's going to do to you, right? Like, Seattle know. That's why I think the zone coverage. I would not be surprised, Marty, if Seattle played 90% zone coverage and brought 2 pressures this entire game. Like, we're going to see that tweet post game, like, Seattle didn't bring 1 pressure the entire game. In this game, to me, they don't do any of that. They don't have to. They can rush 4, sit in zone, avoid getting beaten by screens, avoid the wide receiver screens, because they know the things you just mentioned, right? That sacks are okay, punts are probably okay in this game, and so that really does concern me when it comes to the matchup. About look, can New England run the football in this game? They're going to have to. I don't get it. Seattle, Murphy inside. It's it's gonna be hard, Marty. I don't know if New England can run the ball in this game either.
Yeah, it's going to be hard, and we'll talk about this in the next segment, Jeff. But, TreVeyon Henderson, it's going to be interesting to see what impact, if any, that he has. He's been nursing, battling a shoulder injury, and I think they need him to make some plays to have a chance to win this game.
Well, they certainly will. We'll talk about that and the rest of the matchups next here. The Jim Show was presented by DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
All right, let's continue our preview here of the Super Bowl 60 here between the Patriots and the Seahawks. Let's continue on the Patriots offense versus the Seattle defense. Talk a little bit of the offensive line. Marty, you started to touch on the run game here. Stevenson has sort of become their bell cow. He had some fumbling issues on the season. They trusted him, which I love about Vrabel, and he's been their bell cow. And Henderson, which we saw at moments this year, be a very explosive runner, has seen less and less carries. I think it's because he's sort of just a one-trick pony, if that makes sense, Marty, right? Like, he's very explosive when given the lane, but they don't. He's not really not yet a multi-purpose running back, right? He sort of runs the same runs, and he's a one-cut guy and go. Stevenson provides him a little more versatility now in the passing game. Henderson can get the ball and go. We saw a lot of that at Ohio State. So can New England run the ball in Seattle? I think it's going to be hard to do, and maybe Henderson is a part of the game plan more to get some of those explosive runs. Because look, last week to me, when you're in the snow, you give the ball to Stevenson, right? You pound the ball in the middle line of scrimmage. You do different couple things. The footing will be better, presumably, in Santa Clara on Sunday, and Henderson might have to be used more to create explosive plays because you're going to need that to move the ball down the field.
Totally agree. And I think Stevenson's ability as a straight line runner came in what might have been the difference in the game in the snow. But in this game, I think it's getting the ball to players in space. And I think one of the concerns that New England has had, just like every team with a rookie running back, is you always worry about rookie running backs in pass protection. That's what keeps them on the sidelines if they're on the sidelines. But I think that TreVeyon Henderson could be a key to this game. I think they got to get the ball to him in space in the passing game. You're right, Jeff. He is not a close quarters runner. He's not a quick change of direction guy. What he is he's more of a linear, smooth type runner who all you got to do is give him a little bit and he can go. I loved him coming out, and I love him. I just think he's going to be a terrific steady player in this league. And I think that if he comes and is okay and gets some playing time, I think he might be one of the differences, because the Patriots need weapons, right? They need somebody to make big plays here. And we'll talk about the receivers, and they have candidates, but I think TreVeyon Henderson can be a surprisingly impactful player in this game.
They need him to do that, because I think the skill guys, this is where the matchup to me is even more difficult. I mean, look, Boutte, Diggs, Hunter Henry, they're starting tight end, right? Mac Hollins. I mean, who if you're Seattle on defense, are you like, I got to worry about? There's not a guy, right? Their skill guys are fine. Boutte, they may be catch, like Diggs can catch. They're just not scary, right? They don't worry you. And this is where that's why I think the zone coverage is so important in this game for Seattle, because why let them beat you down the field in man coverage? Absolutely no chance you let them do that, right? And so this is where I think the concern for me magnifies in this matchup. What does New England have to do to get guys open against Seattle's defense?
I think they have to hit guys in space quickly, break tackles in space, and get a lot of yards after the catch. I think that you're right. They are going to try to take away the vertical play with Boutte. And this is just a gut feeling, but I think a guy who can make a difference in this game for New England with the underneath routes and routes like that would be Stephon Diggs. I think that he's going to have a productive game for the Patriots to be able to move the ball consistently.
Right now, according to DraftKings, Diggs is sitting at 4.5 receptions, minus 124 the over. So that feels like to your point, like quick underneath stuff. Diggs is probably that guy. in this offense. Look, it's so funny. These numbers are so low, man. 2.5 receptions for Keyshawn, 2.5 for Hollins, and they're juiced the under, -140 for the under, -158 to the under. Like they're telling you they do not expect a lot of completions for Drake May in this game. Hunter Henry's at 3.5. So, it's a game where New England will have to be New England. Yes, we'll have to find some sort of way to get the ball in those guys' hands. Now, flipping the other side of the ball, Marty, look, the New England defense has not gotten the credit it probably deserves for how well they played, and they've done a fantastic job. Now, of course, they're playing a better offense, but it starts with the matchup where Seattle's right guard, again, Bradford against any of the D tackles, right? I think Seattle's offensive line has played much better in the postseason. It's been an underreported story, in my opinion. They run the ball better this postseason. Kenneth Walker was great in the first half. He's not a high carry guy, so I think he's never going to be great maybe the second half of games. But to me, can Seattle's right guard, can they make sure that he doesn't lose them the game, essentially? How do you see the Seattle offensive line against the New England defensive line?
Yeah, I see him. I see him trying to get the ball out of Bradford's hands quickly. And I was talking to somebody a couple days ago, and we were saying when Seattle played Minnesota and Brian Flores, when JSN went in the slot, the linebackers would drop back and take away that quick slant that he likes and make Bradford hold on to the ball for an extra second. And I think that's the key
Darnold.
To the New England defense, is to make Bradford hold on to the ball and try to force him into either making bad decisions or quick decisions.
So they've incorporated the wide receiver into the passing game a lot the last couple of weeks now. Teams are trying to take away JSN for Seattle. Do you think that continues in this game with Walker and their backups? They kind of rotate those guys through. It does feel like to get the ball in Darnold's hands fast, you would use the screen game and quick pass game a little bit more in a Super Bowl like this.
Yeah, and again, especially with a guy like Kenneth Walker, who is so good in space, I expect him to get the ball quite a bit in the passing game. And this game is all about how do you create big plays, okay? And obviously, as you said, both sides are going to try to take away the vertical threats, right? They don't want to get beat deep. So it's how do you create chunk plays starting with screens or little quick throws underneath, break tackles, and turn it into a 30-yard gain. I think that's what both these offenses are going to have to do. In particular,
they're definitely going to have to. Correct. Looking at the matchup now, that I think is the most fascinating to me is the Patriots defense and what they want to do against the Seattle offense, which is obviously so reliant at times on JSN being a high receptions guy, right? A high receiving targets guy, a high yards guy, a touchdown guy. So, the most common thing I hear, right, is that, they're going to put Chris Gonzalez on him, but Gonzalez is a boundary corner, right? So that's what he's going to play. If you know that, you can obviously move him around, and maybe that gives opportunity for other guys to be on JSN. But the thing about it, Marty, and I say this often, is that, you might think you want to double a guy. You might think we have an ability to do certain things, but offensively, we A, know that, but B, we're able to design an offense to take that away from you, right? And what Kubiak does so well is he finds ways to get JSN out of a box of being in this one spot every single play, right? So we saw a very, touchdown against the Rams where he was in the backfield and ran a sail route, a corner route, right? We've seen him in stack formations, which eliminate double teams. We see him motioning. And I do think that everyone's focused on Gonzalez versus Jay. I think it's Marcus Jones against JSN. I think he will be the guy that we see most often, try to find him and try to match him up. Do you think that's more of the matchup to watch than Gonzalez against JSN?
I still think if JSN is outside, I think you match him up on him, but they're going to move him around, and it's just like with Steve Smith. Everybody would want to get up on the line, jam him, press him, double him. So you have to move him around, and JSN's going to be moving around all over the place. So how do the Patriots adjust when they move JSN to the inside to the slot or put him in motion? And I think that if he lines up in their end man and he goes motion, I would expect Gonzalez to be on him quite a bit. But again, the Seahawks have more explosive weapons, in my opinion, than the Patriots do right now. And again, the Patriots are still in a very young stage of their building their program. And the fact that they are here it just is such a credit to Elliott Wolf and Ryan Cowden and personnel and then Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels, their coaching staff. I mean, this team has developed so quickly. But I just think that they do not have as many guys on the offensive side of the ball that scare you as, say, Seattle does.
So one guy I'm looking at to have maybe a bigger role in this game we've seen in the postseason is Barner, their tight end. He was second on the team with receptions with 56 this season and 6 receiving tight ends. Receiving touchdowns. Only 2 receptions on 3 targets in 2 playoff games. I have to imagine he tries to become a bigger role in this, and maybe they've gone away from him just because they haven't had to use him, right? We saw Shaheed early on and have a big catch in that game, and sort of when you're ahead, maybe you don't feel like you have to use the tight end as much, but I would imagine they try to get him more involved in this game because he's been a big part of their success this season.
Yeah, I think that, and that's what I think the extra week does, is it gives these 2 excellent offense coordinators time to come up with some wrinkles and some things to get guys open. And I think that tight end on both sides of the ball, and probably even more so for the Patriots, is going to be extremely important. But Barner's made some big catches this year, and I think that he's a guy who definitely can be a factor in this game. I just think the Seahawks have a better chance of spreading the ball around just because they have more targets. But I just get a feeling that the Josh McDaniels and the Patriots offense are going to find a way to make some plays, some chunk plays, some plays to get some rhythm going and move the ball.
A.J. Barner is also their quarterback sneak guy, which, Marty, I don't want to be a curmudgeon on a show like this before the Super Bowl, but I cannot stand the tight end tush push. I just you're basically taking a player off the field. You're playing with 10 guys, and I get it works, but you also just can't really have counters off of it, right? What you do, tight end's going to run an option or run a weird trick play. It's just not going to happen like that, and I can't stand it, even though it works. I mean, I hand up, man, it works, but it frustrates me to watch. I just think to go from a quarterback receiving a snap to now a tight end in the Super Bowl. Oh, imagine if you fumbled the ball, Marty, you'd never live with yourself again if you had a tight end doing quarterback sneak. He fumbles the ball. We'll talk now big picture game, how things go, and our best bets here. Geoff Schwartz Marty DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
All right, we're back here, Marty. One more segment of the 2025 NFL season. We're going to give you our game predictions. We're going to talk about overall big picture things in the Super Bowl. We'll give you our best bets here and say, remember, as we transition to the offseason, we're going to do mostly Mondays. So be on the lookout for that. Some given weeks, we'll hit both. We'll do Combine Week. We'll hit twice a week. We might have twice a week for draft season, of course. And we're going to get to team breakdowns and a lot of draft stuff hopefully this year with Marty. I'm looking forward to doing that with you. All right, big picture for this game, Marty. People will point to, at least I've heard this week, right? The idea that this Patriots team is either the 2001 Patriots, right? The team that sort of came out of nowhere, beat the fastest show on turf, or they look at the Patriots schedule, which has not been very tough this season, right?
Right.
And compare it to another team who didn't have a tough schedule, the 1999 Rams, who did win the Super Bowl that year. And my pushback, and you said something earlier that got me to this point. I want to make this point. You said the Patriots are young and really didn't expect to be here, which is true, right? And think about the 99 Rams, right? Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame running back, Hall of Fame left tackle, Hall of Fame wide receiver, Hall of Fame wide receiver, London Fletcher at middle linebacker, like the 01 Patriots, Tom Brady, Ty Law, Richard Seymour. Like these are not the same comparisons, right? Now, New England might get there at some point. Drake May might be an all-time great at quarterback, right? It's certainly possible. maybe one of their young offensive linemen turns into a great, it's just not this. These are not the same comparisons in my mind. And that leads me to the belief of just New England's not as good now. It doesn't mean they can't win the game, right? Marty says this is the NFL. They're not going to say, oh, we're not going to play hard because we're not going to. But I think when you look at just matchup wise, right, a lot of these games come down to this team is just that much better than the other team, right? And I just think Seattle's a much better team. They've been wire to wire the best team in the NFL. And we've said this, and maybe I've been wrong about this, and we joked at the top of the show about this. If you just took Sam Darnold's name off the quarterback profile for the Seattle quarterback, right? You just put Joe Schmo in there. I think you would have no doubt about Seattle winning this game. And so I have 24-13 Seattle. I think New England has a really trouble scoring. There's a lot of numbers over the years in this matchup where a team just sees a big decrease in scoring average in the postseason and they don't play well in the Super Bowl. We have, a young quarterback who is getting there, right, as a quarterback, but has a poor postseason. They don't play better in the Super Bowl, right, Marty? You have an offensive line. How many years have we watched Super Bowls and either ignored the offensive line or looked at the Chiefs' offensive line, with Mahomes in 2020 and overlooked that, and they just got decimated. The New England offensive line is not that bad, but not a good offensive line, Marty. I just think all these things are against the Patriots game, and maybe I'm just too stuck in what I believe about this game, Marty, but I do think that's how the game goes.
And everything you say, I agree with, but it's why the NFL is so hard to figure out what's going to happen, because you go down all these matchups, Geoff, and there are more check marks or pluses on the Seattle side than the New England side when you go down individually, matchup by matchup, position by position. But when I look at this game, there is something about this Patriots team, the formula that Mike Vrabel has brought, the way they play together, the ability for Drake Maye to make plays, and they have enough guys on offense to come up with big plays when they need them. I think that this is going to be a game where turnovers, just like every game in the NFL, but turnovers are going to be huge. I think the first part of this game is going to be very, very interesting because, again, you look at the young players with New England, and that could be a plus and not a minus because they don't really know how important winning this game is. John Fox would always say, man, you get to this game and then you lose that game as soon as that game's over. The confetti comes down, they bring up the yellow tape, they rope you off the losing team and take you into the locker room. And until you feel that, and both these organizations have been there, but these young players haven't. I don't think they quite know that. This might be, you've been in the league 1 or 2 years, but it might be the only time you get to this game. So that could be a plus, that could be a negative, but I do think that Seattle basically gets the majority of the check marks. I just think New England's going to have a chance to win this game, and I do like them with the plus 4.5.
One of the fun things about being here in Radio Row is the people you see, Marty. And Steve Smith just walked by. I was going to invite him to come on the show and talk with. Yeah, he's right here in front of us. And I obviously we're talking right now. I'm not going to do that, but did you see people like I'd be like, hey, I'm on.
Tell him I said hi.
I will when we get done here. That's the fun part. It's Steve Smith and Keyshawn Johnson have a little chat right here in front of us. So that's the fun part about being here at Radio Row. Look, I think sometimes I'm not idealistic enough. Like when you talk about sort of New England making the plays in the big moments, they absolutely have, Marty, and there's a quality to that. It's just hard for me to quantify that in my brain heading into a game like this, right? Like if you have to say, well, they just sort of come up with a big play all the time. And look, maybe the parallel a little bit is Indiana this year, right? In college football, where every single play they had to make this year, they made. And it feels like New England has done that game after game after game. And I kept thinking, Indiana, there's no way they do it. No way they do it. And finally, I picked them to beat Miami in the championship game. I finally got one right. And maybe I'm just wrong about, New England's ability to do that in this game, where they've just made every big play, every big play, every big play. And one thing I will give them credit for, Marty, I think this is very important, is they do not quit, man. And I'm not saying that a lot of NFL teams quit, but they're not going to look at any point in this game if they're down of like, we can't do this, right? And I don't think the moment has ever felt too big for them. It did feel too big for them in Denver. I thought Vrabel did such a good job managing that game. We've talked about this. He was so good managing that game, and that will play a big role in this one. One thing we haven't talked about before we get to our best bets here, special teams, right, is the ability for both these teams, whether it's Jones or Shaheed, to make plays in special teams. I think that's a good market to look at for MVP. If you think that it's a defensive game, which I think we both agree, right? The defensive game is their special teams play by Jones, a punt return touchdown, a Shaheed, a kickoff return touchdown. That changes this game, that puts a special teams touchdown on the board for an MVP here. I think both these teams are very good on special teams, Marty. So I do believe that that's a big part of this game.
I definitely agree. I think there will be an impact play on special teams. These two returners are too good, and Henderson might even return kicks for the Patriots. So I think that there definitely is a chance for a big special teams return, and I think that's going to have an impact in the game. And both these returners, I mean, they're both capable of doing it. I like Shaheed. Because he can also make those type plays on offense. We'll see, but I do think a big return could happen in this game and could be an impact.
Yeah, look, if I was, Seattle, I'm keeping the ball away from Jones, right? Obviously, in the punt game.
Yeah.
I do think that kickoff return-wise, it's hard to keep the ball away from Shaheed. Let's kick the ball in the end zone. But now, it's such a punitive 35-yard line, man. You're like 20 yards away from a field goal.
I know.
Yeah, we can talk about the all that stuff in the offseason, Marty, because I do think some of that has to be changed. But let's talk now about our best bets here. I know we've sort of talked about them the last three shows. Now it's our opportunity to sort of put them all together here, Marty. So I'll let you go first with your best bets for Super Bowl 60.
My favorite prop in this game is more than 2.5 players throwing a pass. And my thinking is this, Geoff, is that if it's going to be a tight, close defensive game and offenses are looking for ways to get yards, I think one of these coordinators, and I'm kind of counting on the Patriots more than the Seahawks, but one of these coordinators is going to come up with something where a wide receiver, running back, somebody's throwing an option pass, and plus the fact that both quarterbacks are coming in a little ding, but I like that. It's a 2-1, and that's my favorite prop, I think, in this game. I like the Rashid Shaheed touchdown anytime. And I got obviously the Patriots at plus 4.5. I got Booty at a plus 40-yard receiving TD at 11-1. Rashid to have either 50-plus receiving yards or 20-plus rushing yards. And then I have him with an anytime TD as well, him in Diggs.
I think it's always good. To write down your your wager. So I pulled this up, Marty, because last year that this rang my mind here. I took players to have a pass attempt under 2.5 last year. It was minus 200, like minus 238. So I laid a big number on that one. Kenny Pickett threw a pass on 4th and 7 on the final drive of the Super Bowl last year. I lost the bet, and it pissed me off. 4th and 7, Marty, you're up 40-22. You threw a pass. And that stuff matters in these games, right? That absolutely matters in these games because people like Shmuels like me lose bets minus 238 on players to have a pass attempt in the game. So
I'm glad that Steve can still laugh. You can laugh about it now.
Again, make sure track your wagers, man. That's what you should do. All right. We talked about this. I'm just sort of rehashing wagers I made throughout the week. So you've heard these. Maybe you haven't. Welcome. And you'll comment on YouTube your favorite wagers of this game. I like New England under 20.5 points. This number is fluctuating between 20.5, 19.5. You could pay a little juice on the 20.5 here. We talked about this all show. I just don't expect them to score a lot of points this game. I think that a lot of my wager this game are going to be correlated to that. I've tried to cut down my menu. So I have 2 pages of Super Bowl props from last year. We're not doing that this season. I like Drake Maye under rushing. Now it's 35, it's to be 37.5 at the moment right now. I went over in detail why I think that is. I think with a little bit of a shoulder beat up, Seattle's zone defense, just the inability for him to get those long chunk runs, longest rush under would be something I would look at as well. But Drake Maye under rushing. I like Drake Maye under 43.5 first quarter passing yards. Again, for the reasons we've talked about, right? I don't think that we're going to see him throw the ball well early on unless it's a screen. And the last one I like here is the first quarter under 7.5. Super Bowl starts slow. It's just what it is. These two defenses are really good, Marty. I do believe this is a slow starting game. Those are my 4 wagers as of now. Hope you guys enjoyed our Super Bowl preview. It's great to be out here with DraftKings in San Francisco. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back on Monday to break it all down, everyone. Have a great week. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Talk to you guys on Monday.